the latest in the saga of Mizkif, everyone's favorite streamer drama. Let's see.
In Mizkif's terrible response video, he talked about going quote-unquote full demon time, which was such a weird thing to say. Nevertheless, the damage control video seems to have not worked out so well for him, as he locked all of the comments and hid the likes, and of course, most people on the internet seem to be not siding with him on this one. And Mizkif's new tactic is bringing forth litigation against...
He has two problems. One, he's kind of an asshole. He just kind of acts like an asshole. Number one. Number two, he doesn't have tits. There are two problems there.
Multiple defendants. He's going after Emiru. He's going after Asmongold. He's going after OTK Media, Mythic Talent, and King Gaming Labs in a lawsuit that was just recently filed. That is a lot of defendants. This guy's going to be burning through cash like no other with this one. And don't get me wrong, it's not going to be cheap for the defense either, but like especially for Mizkif, going after so many people. And so I've got the entire legal document.
The stupid thing about lawsuits is a lot of it is a battle of attrition, and it's really retarded. That's just like, I'm just telling the truth. Don't hate me. That's the system. It's all battle of attrition basically.
Here, and we're going to read together through the most important parts.
And this is why the legal system is like pretty unfair to people that don't have money, because it's a battle of attrition usually.
So they talk about like factual background stuff here. We can skip all this. It's just like Mizkif's streaming career and like what OTK is, stuff like that. Which takes us to point 15, where they say, through the acts and omissions described below, defendants Emiru, Asmongold, and OTK have acted in concert wrongfully and baselessly accused Mizkif of serious criminal activity for no purpose other than to harm him, his reputation, and his business, and wrest from him control of the companies that he helped build. Mizkif and Emiru began dating in 2022. The relationship was not easy on either side. They would routinely face harassment from Emiru's followers, some of whom were stalking Emiru. They got into arguments regularly, and Emiru threatened to take her life in many of these arguments. Emiru would dress and behave in ways that Mizkif thought made her unsafe in light of the ongoing stalking from some of her followers. At the end of the relationship, Emiru expressed her desire to marry Mizkif and raise children within the next 5 years. Mizkif, contemplating the tumultuous nature of their relationship to that point, could not agree to do so. He called off their relationship and moved from Austin to Los Angeles in January 2025. 10 months later, on October 24th, 2025, Emiru hosted a live stream on Twitch. On the live stream, she lied and baselessly accused Mizkif of psychological and domestic abuse, stalking and harassment, SA, and threats of blackmail. These slanderous accusations were made live before an audience of tens of thousands and have since been viewed millions of times across various platforms. In the same live stream, Emiru gives accounts of their relationship that clearly do not support the allegations she levied.
The thing is like he's gonna have to prove. Did Legal Mindset do a thing on this? I don't know enough about law to really give like a real good like take on it. To be honest, I've more or less already said what I think in terms of it. The thing is the one that he has the most, I think Mizkif has the most credibility, is the sexual assault part. And I already talked about that before, about how I feel about that. But you're going to have to prove that that was like, because it's not like she lied about it, right? It's like to her, it constitutes. So even if it doesn't, even if it doesn't hit the legal definition of what SA is, like she could just be talking about her own definition, and she didn't even lie about what happened. The way we know she didn't lie about what happened is because Mizkif said literally the same story. Did he not? It's like literally the exact same story. They both told the same story. Yeah. So she didn't lie about it. You could at the most say that like her definition was wrong, but like I don't know how you sue for that, right?
For example, in her own description of the purported essay, Emiru states that she and Ronaldo were kissing. He tried to initiate intercourse. She made clear that she did not want to, and he stopped, respecting the line that she had drawn. Nonetheless, she continued to defame Mizkif and portray him as a perpetrator of SA in a video she knew full well would be viewed by millions. That very same day, OTK sent Mizkif a letter purporting to terminate his interest in the company. OTK claimed it was entitled to do so based on the nature of Emiru's allegations. And then they talk about who Emiru is. We already know that. This letter asserted a number of purported breaches of the owner's agreement. No such breaches occurred. Nonetheless, OTK asserted that it was reclaiming Mizkif's around 1.1 million shares of OTK without payment. This letter further asserted Mizkif owed amounts in excess of $600,000 to Mythic.
This is going to be really all about like the contracts, which like we don't know about, right? Like I don't know what the contract is.
"Quote unquote" management fees relating to purported breaches that did not occur. Through OTK, Mythic demanded repayment of these allegedly owed fees. Further, the letter falsely asserted Mizkif violated his agreement with King referencing this defendant here, King Gaming Labs Incorporated. So once again, they say, further, the letter falsely asserted that Mizkif violated his agreement with King, purported to reclaim Mizkif's around 93,000 shares of stock in King, and demanded payment of around $296,000 as a result of purported breaches that, again, did not occur. Mythic, King, and OTK made no serious investigation or inquiry into the basis for or truth of Emiru's allegations before repudiating their agreements with plaintiffs. Indeed, Mythic, King, and OTK did not even ask Mizkif for comment or any information in his possession disproving the allegations. Instead, a few days after Emiru's defamatory livestream, OTK, perpetuating the defamation, put out a statement on X, formerly known as Twitter, that it fully supports its co-owner and sister Emiru and stands by her side and admires her strength in coming forward and sharing her story. In this statement, OTK falsely claimed it had terminated its relationship with Mizkif some time ago for reasons unrelated to the recent events. Hoyt, who streams under the handle Asmongold, is a part owner of OTK. Since Emiru's livestream, Asmon has continuously defamed Mizkif on a near daily basis. He has claimed, inter alia, Mizkif should be in jail, claimed he was abusing and manipulating others, hurting other people, and becoming an aggressor. For example, in a livestream that has since been uploaded to YouTube, where it garnered 1.9 million views as of the date of this filing, Asmon states directly that Mizkif was the aggressor and abuser in the relationship with Emiru. Asmon would then qualify his statement by saying, at least allegedly, but disclaim that disclaimer itself by saying he has to say that for legal reasons. Asmon has on a near daily basis reaffirmed the truth of Emiru's allegations.
I mean, you do, because there's reporting, right? Like you take reporting and you make your conclusions based on that report. The reason you say allegedly is because you don't know if that report is true, right? Because obviously, like, sources can lie, and it's like it would be impossible to do any sort of journalism if you had to be like 100% true. That's 100% like if your standards were 100% accuracy of something being true before you report on it, then like there's no way that you even do any sort of journalism.
Before his millions of followers. Asmon also claimed on his live stream that there was another, again unspecified, act of misconduct that was the reason Mizkif was removed from OTK. This is in direct contrast to OTK's own account.
Wait, it's not? Kalopsy Lova says Asmon's name is in Asmon? It's not? I thought his name was Zach Rar.
As provided in its letter of October 24th, Asmon falsely accused Mizkif of threatening Emiru's employees at TwitchCon, a recent streaming convention. Asmon has enriched himself personally by advertising revenues and subscription fees garnered from his smear campaign against Mizkif. Even some of Asmon's own viewership noted that he was drama baiting for views. The combined coordinated actions of Emiru, Asmongold, OTK, Mythic, and King have caused serious and lasting damage to Mizkif's personal reputation and his business. Since the defamation occurred, Mizkif has been losing followers and subscribers on a daily basis. Mizkif anticipates the loss of existing sponsorships and increased difficulty in securing.
So here's the thing I'm really curious of is, like, does he know something we don't know and that's why he's suing? Or is it like he's just retarded? Like what's going on? Like, you know what I mean? Like how do you confidently sue them? Like,
future sponsorships. Regretfully, the extreme nature of the misconduct here has compelled Mizkif to file suit. Okay, so that is the main complaint itself, and from this point on, we have the causes of action that his legal counsel is really going after the defendants for, and this part is much more brief. And I'll read it for you too, but just so you know what we're getting into here,
he's
the
desperate.
First cause of action, count one, is breach of contract. The second,
I guess, like, he's desperate. Well, here's the thing is, like, just based on like what I know of him, and again, like, allegedly, I don't actually know him that well, right? It seems that a lot of people told him, like, just take the money and go. Like, just take the money that you have already made and go right off into the sunset. You know, just FF, bro. Just uninstall, bro. That's what they were basically telling him, right? The thing is if you were to analyze what drives Mizkif, like, based on, like, you know, the stories and the stuff that he said himself, if you're to analyze what drives him, I don't think the money is actually the driver. I think the money is actually just a part of the reason behind it. The reason behind it, I think, is the ego. It is the fame. It's the glory. It's the position of respect and authority of being like a top streamer, right? So it makes sense if you were to think of it under that lens that, like, he would not ride off into the sunset. Like, even if he has all that money, he's going to fight it, like, to the death, basically, right? Because if his ego is what this is all about and maintaining that position, he has nothing left to lose basically, right? If that was the most important thing in his life, it wasn't the money. It's specifically the clout and the position, then it makes sense for him to fight all the way down, right?
One is defamation, and the third one is declaratory judgment. So let's begin. That takes us to count 1, breach of contract, going after OTK and King specifically for this cause of action. Plaintiffs incorporate the allegations of paragraphs 1 through 32 by reference as if set forth fully herein. OTK breached its ownership agreement with Mizkif by purporting to oust him from ownership when no event of breach or default giving it authority to take such action had occurred. OTK acknowledged it took no effort to investigate the alleged breaches, claiming in its own words that OTK is not involved in nor aware of the content of such personal matter that Mizkif or Emiru may have with each other. Nonetheless, OTK anticipatorily breached its contract with Mizkif based on Emiru's allegations. Similarly, King breached its agreements with plaintiffs by purporting to divest them of their stock in King when no breach or event of default permitting same had occurred. And these breaches of contract have caused damage to plaintiffs by purporting to divest them of over 1 million shares of stock owned in OTK and King. That takes us to the second cause of action, defamation, going after both Emiru and Asmongold. Plaintiffs incorporate the allegations of paragraphs 1 through 37 of the complaint as if set forth fully herein. Defendants Emiru and Asmongold have reportedly published untrue defamatory statements concerning Mizkif to an audience of millions, painting him as a abuser, etc., a very terrible person. These statements were made with actual malice. Quick side note about the actual malice part. This probably ties back in with what they were saying earlier in the complaint against Asmongold, where they mentioned that Asmongold said allegedly and then went on to say, as a legal disclaimer, he's saying that, or something of the sort. I'm paraphrasing that a bit from earlier in the document now.
Yeah.
But the reason they probably added that was to try and build upon this actual malice part that they're expanding on in this cause of action. The reason this is so important in particular is because Mizkif, as a public figure, I believe would need to prove actual malice to have any shot at winning a defamation lawsuit. But of course, I'm not a lawyer. Maybe I'm wrong about all that. But I think I'm more likely to be correct about that than incorrect, at least according to my recollection of some of the information I learned when extensively covering, I should say, the Vic Mignogna lawsuit years ago. But yeah, obviously I'm not a lawyer, and so I'm going to keep my commentary very minimal as I read this.
Like
but that is one thing
if you get something wrong, they have to prove that there was like malice behind it, basically, for it to actually meet the standards. The standards of like defamation are really hard to meet, basically.
Did want to mention really quick. So now we'll continue where we left off. These statements were made with actual malice, they say. Emiru and Asmongold knew at the time that they published these statements that they were false. On belief and information, Emiru and Asmongold knew they stood to benefit from Mizkif's ouster from OTK, and the associated companies and coordinated the timing of their statements to maximize the injury inflicted to plaintiffs. These statements have caused severe damage to plaintiffs' reputation and business, and have caused severe emotional distress and mental anguish. And finally, that takes us to the last cause of action, count 3, declaratory judgment. This one going after OTK, Mythic, and King. Plaintiffs incorporate the allegations of paragraphs 1 through 41 of the complaint as if set forth fully herein. An actual controversy exists between plaintiffs OTK, Mythic, and King concerning the purported breaches that defendants allege plaintiffs committed and the efficacy of defendants' attempts to unlawfully divest plaintiffs of their interest in the companies. An actual controversy exists between plaintiffs OTK and Mythic concerning the amounts demanded by OTK and Mythic for unlawful quote-unquote management fees, which are neither due nor owing. An actual controversy exists between plaintiffs and OTK concerning the wrongfully accelerated promissory note, which OTK had no legal basis to make demand upon. The court has jurisdiction to issue declaratory judgment under 28 U.S.C. 2001 et sec. So those are the 3 main causes of action, and then he, of course, also wants attorney's fees to be paid for, which is just standard stuff. And then we have damages here. Plaintiffs have been damaged by the acts and omissions of the defendants in the following ways: reputational harm, loss of business goodwill, loss of earnings, loss of future earning potential, emotional distress, and mental anguish. With the final section here, conclusion and prayer. Wherefore, premises considered, plaintiffs Renato and Mizkif Enterprises pray this honorable court after trial enter judgment against defendants, awarding plaintiffs such damages as determined by the finder of fact, awarding plaintiffs reasonable and necessary attorney's fees, awarding plaintiffs pre- and post-judgment interest at the maximum rate allowable by law, declaring that OTK, King, and Mythic have no claims against plaintiffs, declaring that OTK and King's attempts to divest plaintiffs of their interests in the companies at issue were ineffective as a matter of law, and granting such other and further relief as to which plaintiffs may prove themselves entitled at law or in equity. So yeah, that's that. To be quite frank, it's kind of a short legal filing.
Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, as you guys know, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to sit here like speculating and all that. You know, I shared my very brief opinion on like a few things in that filing.
Let's see what
but
legal
I'll leave
has
the
to
rest
say.
to the experts. So let me know what you think in the comments. As always, thank you for tuning in.
I'll link you guys the video here by Hero Hei, and then why don't we shift over a little bit and like take a look at what Legal Minds has to say. So he's probably gonna have a little bit more insight on it.